on, Dean. Hey, Daryl. Hi, Bill. Oh, Wild Bill. Get you on film a little bit there, buddy. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Does it make you feel old or young?
Oh, I don't feel any different.
There you go. There you go. There you go. You minding what the doctor's telling you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm doing real good.
Okay. All right. That's all that matters there, too.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yep. Hey, Pappy. Hi, Linda. Good. How are you? You keeping that young guy out of trouble? No. I know he's about as old as you, but not quite. Yeah, he's trying to catch you. All right. Hi, Glenn. How you doing?
Good, good.
Good.
Sign in, dude?
That vintage stuff, you know what I mean? Yeah, there's three guys that know what they're doing at the track.
Man, hold on, man. Another one on the way. I can't hold this post for long.
Oh, it's okay. That's good.
Midvale Speedway, so just give us a few minutes. We'll set up some chairs for the folks that want to sit down, and we'll get everybody recognized here shortly.
Drinking Busch Light? She's drinking. She's drinking Busch Light. You stand behind.
Look right here, Joe. There you go. Gotcha. Kenny Vickers. Yes. 44, Kenny Vickers. I told you like that. I need that. Huh?
That was a good one. Okay.
How are you? Give me a pound, kiddo.
White Mike.
That's Eric.
How you doing, Mike?
Good.
Good.
Okay, so we need all the Hall of Famers in the chairs, please. So the Hall of Famers in the chairs, please. The 2018 class of Hall of Famers in the chairs, please. Or one representative from those who are no longer with us or were unable to make it tonight. So one member or the Hall of Famer in the chairs, please. Then we'll have our other old timers just kind of off to the sides, and we'll introduce them once we get everybody situated here on the front straightaway, and a lot of faces down here that I haven't seen in a long time that I grew up watching here.
A little more workout.
Okay, it's been a long time. I'll tell you what, I don't get out of camp. Richie doesn't either.
Not very often.
Yeah, just leave it right next to me. That's all.
Because we're going to put all the old timers. Okay, so we're going to try and get organized. Again, the Hall of Famers, please give the chair. A member of the Hall of Famer family or the actual Hall of Famer in the chair, please. And the families can stand behind the inductees, and then we'll have the old timers down here up front. We'll introduce the old timers first that are here tonight.
No, I'm just going in alphabetical order. I'll just, you know what I mean? I wasn't going to get that technical. No. We can say they're a vector. Good to see you, Bill.
Gangway, look out!
So getting our Hall of Famers situated here, and again, the families, you can line up behind your family member or the Hall of Fame inductee. Give us a chance to take a lot of pictures. Matthew is going to be on Facebook Live here, so those of you who wasn't able to make it to the speedway tonight will be able to see this ceremony on Facebook Live. And you can also give a Craig Mishler. They've been racing videos and purchase a copy of tonight's event.
I'll start with them first, and then we'll do this. Yeah, she can go down here and recognize you. Absolutely. Matt, I'm going to help you.
Hey, Alan, get down.
Chris, Deanna wanted to know, are you doing the old ones first? So we're going to do the current Hall of Famers first, okay?
So where does she need to go?
Just right where she's at's fine.
They said stay right where you're at.
Okay, good. Your job will be to give them to, well, or have somebody sit through and take the fly. Have John give them to them.
We're still getting everything situated here. Again, please try not to stay up next to the fence so that everybody can see. I know that it's hard and everybody wants to get their pictures in. We're trying to do our best. You're more than welcome to come down here on the front straightaway and take pictures if you want to. But for those who want to still sit in their seats in the stands, please try not to block their view up next to the fence. We would very much appreciate that. But you're more than welcome to come down here and take pictures as we get ready for our ceremony. We're trying to get out our plaques. Once we get our plaques situated, and we will introduce our current Hall of Famers, and then we will introduce some of our old-timers, and then our current Hall of Fame, new Hall of Famers, here in just a few minutes.
That's the one that's
Hey, John.
Again, finishing up here, getting things organized. It's great to see. I hope that everybody is taking pictures of all the
Kath, you and Angie get up in there.
Whoop. Sorry about that. Sorry about that, buddy.
on you.
Double E.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's get started with our ceremony. First, I would like to recognize the first ever Hall of Fame class here at Mid-Vale Speedway. The 2007 inductees, Mr. Gene Talati, Mr. Bob Talati, Mr. Eddie Warmack, Dean Max, Roland Baldy Baker, Mr. Bill Bittaker, who is here tonight. Bill Bittaker, where you at, Wild Bill? There he is. Bud Middle, and of course Tony Diano, whose wife Shirley is here tonight. How about a big round of applause for her? That is our first ever class here at Mid-Vid Speedway. The second class in 2008, Don Wagner, Roy King, Bob Worcester, and representing his dad tonight, Delmer Clark, or Alan Clark. He's down there representing Delmer Clark. Dave Gillen and Virgil Tinlin. That is your current Hall of Famers until tonight. Let's go through and meet some of our old timers.
Here, I got you. Here, take this. Great.
First, I'm going to introduce Mr. G. Yakabuchi. He started racing in 1963 at the Burton Fairgrounds. Jeep is a Hall of Famer at Lorraine and Cloverleaf. How about a big round of applause for Jeep?
I was thinking about you the other day.
Also, want to recognize Hank Lang.
Hank Lang.
Started racing in Mid-Vid in 1970. Was the track champion at Kent Motor Speedway in 1971. He retired in 1983. Big round of applause for Hank.
That's him right there.
How about Pappy Miller? Yeah! Pappy Miller, 1952. The actor Rubber Roll in Canton and Norriton. Pappy Miller was an official here at Mid-Vid Speedway for many seasons. He even took home the officials race in numerous times. Beat March all over this racetrack at 70, 80 years old. So Pappy Miller. The next person we want to introduce, Mr. Guy Platt. Started racing in 1961 at Burlington Speedway. Raced at Mid-Vid in the late 60s and 70s. Janet Parker was the first female driver to win a feature in the late model class. She won a match race with Brad Hawkins. Janet Parker, the first lady in the Mid-Vid Speedway. Jay Peterson started racing in 1957 through 1966 at Mid-Vid. He also raced the Midvale and Midvale Speedway.
Jay Peterson right there.
Clyde Gardner started racing in 1964 at Canton Motor Speedway. Was also a track champion in 1966. Big round of applause for Clyde Gardner. One of my favorites, where'd she go? Where's Becky the Clown?
Yeah. She's
Bring
wearing
it up, Becky, here she is.
wearing orange.
One of the staples here at Mid-Vid Speedway. She started commenting in the 80s and was here forever. Becky the Clown. The next person is Duffy Stafford. Started racing in the 60s. Where's Duffy at? There's Duffy. Come on out here and be recognized. I know Kenny Vickers is down there. Kenny Vickers, racer in my era in the 80s, 70s, 80s. Kenny Vickers. And then a former track owner here at Mid-Vale Speedway. He started this Hall of Fame class. Harris Schwartz, he still drives today in the street stock division. Harris Schwartz started our Hall of Fame here. Another one of our track owners, I don't know if he's down here, Randy Smith, another one of our old timers. Randy, you down here? There. Where's Randy at? Might still be over pit side, but Randy Smith, the former track owner, former driver here at Mid-Vale Speedway. Give him a big round of applause.
You got Mike White Bucks Dawson.
How about White Bucks? Where's Mike White Bucks Dawson? Driver that number 88 Sports Stock. Where's he at?
Right
there. He is. White Bucks, wearing white shoes appropriately. Former racer and of course one of the guys that has helped score at this racetrack back in the 90s, Earl Swinehart. Another staple here at Mid-Vale Speedway. I'm told that Doc Dixon is here. Where's Doc at?
Right
Doc
over here.
Dixon.
Right down here, John.
There he is, Doc Dixon, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Huh? Okay. Okay, I think we've gotten pretty much everybody that is here for Old Timers Night. So let's get into our new 2018 class for the Mid-Vale Speedway Hall of Fame, shall we? Our first inductee drove the number 550. He started in 1980. From 1980 till 2001 with over 100 checkered flags. 3 or 4 second place points championships. He recorded numerous feature wins over the years. In 1982 and 1983, he won the Ohio State Street Stock Championship at Sandusky. He also was noted for helping a lot of the younger drivers get started, fixing up many cars for Kevin McClintock, Doug McMillan, Randy Smart. To this day, he still helps build cars that race down here at Mid-Vale Speedway. Let's welcome Hall of Famer Kenny Carroll. They couldn't even rebuild one of my cars back in the day.
Somebody run them out. Somebody bring him out.
Our next inductee started racing in 1955 and in 1932 Model B Ford. Darrell took home several feature wins in his first season. He competed on asphalt and dirt tracks like Midvale, Lake Logan Speedway, Haydenville Speedway, Fort Speedway, St. Clairsville, Canton, Barberton, Skyline, and many others. He drove for himself and Tom Coltrane. He continued to pick up preliminary and feature wins until his retirement in early 2016. He has also helped out with numerous projects at Mid-Vale Speedway the last several seasons, like moving the wall in the front straightaway. He cleared and leveled the hill in the pit area, new grandstands, concession stands, bathrooms, you name it. Darrell has been involved in it. Ladies and gentlemen, Hall of Famer Darrell Dexter.
Still got a kiss from the trophy girl.
Who's next?
Our next.
Our next inductee is a legend at Midvale Speedway. He started in 1966. Ron is one of the winningest drivers in Midvale history. Ron won the title Ohio Invitational in 1966. Ron won back-to-back track championships in 76 and 77 and retired from racing in 1981. Ladies and gentlemen, Hall of Famer Ron Hoopengarner.
This must be your wife.
Our next inductee first took the wheel in 1971. He took home his first feature win in 1974 in a 65 Ford Galaxy. Glenn won the 1984 Firecracker 84 and took home back-to-back Lady Championships in 1988 and 89, winning 7 features in 88. Glenn brought home 11 checkered flags in 1992 and route to his first point championship. In 1999, he jumped into a modified and looked right at home. Glenn won 8 features that year and 10 in 2001. He took home the modified points title in 2004 before taking some time off after the 2005 season. He climbed back in at the age of 64, winning the mid-season and season championship races in 2014. He finished up his illustrious career in 2015, but told me earlier this week he would still get back into a car today. Ladies and gentlemen, Hall of Famer Glenn Jewell.
That's okay, John. Who's next? Oh, okay.
Honey Dave.
This driver started racing at Midvale and Barberton in 1956 through 1972. After leaving Midvale, he raced dirt at St. Clairsville, Wayne County, and East Canton. Larry won many races at Midvale and won a 75-lapper at St. Clairsville. Larry retired from racing in 1978. Ladies and gentlemen, Hall of Famer Larry Kilpatrick.
My wife's coming. Wait till she gets in here.
Hi.
Thank you. Thank you, Jerry.
Our next inductee started owning stock cars in the early 1970s, even driving for himself a few times. He tabbed drivers like Mike Dillon, Gary Smith, Glenn Jewell, Roger Liner, and Kenny Stevens to wheel his machines. Ron Sr. owned Arca cars that raced at Daytona, Talladega, Michigan, and a few other NASCAR tracks with Delmer Clark and Red Evans piloting them in the early to mid-80s. Ron Sr. was a car owner up until his passing in September 2011. His sons and grandsons now follow in his footsteps. Ladies and gentlemen, Hall of Fame car owner, the late Ron J. Burke Sr. Our next inductee started his illustrious career in 1970. Driving for himself in the Holly Stock division, he ran big models and figure eights also. Roger captured the 1972 Holly Stock Championship before teaming up with Joe Tedesco in 1983. That duo reeled off 4 sports stock track championships in 84, 85, 86, and 87 in the famous number 670. He went on to drive for Jerry Massarelli in 90 and 91, taking another sports stock title in 1990 and the NBC Series Championship. In 1993, Roger teamed up with Rick Watson and Don Angel, taking home the 1993 sports stock title and the 1995 Late Model Championship. In 1997, he picked up a late model feature win for Mike Dillon and drove a street stock for Bear Sports in 99. From 2000 until his retirement in 2016, he continued to race part-time in his own equipment. Jolly Roger has well over 100 feature wins and 8 or 9 championships. Ladies and gentlemen, another one of our legends who can drive just about anything, Roger Liner. Also want to recognize he's not here tonight, but we will have a ceremony for some of the guys who weren't here tonight. would like to welcome into the Hall of Fame Mr. Brad Malkin. And we also want to welcome into the Hall of Fame Captain Citizen Mark Malkin. Our next inductee started racing for owning race cars at Mid-Vid in 1985. He started out with Fords and then switched to Chevys later on. Ken Carson won numerous features and preliminary races at Mid-Vid, including 7 track championships. Ken's time was spent not counting wins, but spending his valuable time with his family. Ladies and gentlemen, another one of Mid-Vid Speedway's winningest car owners, Ken McClintock.
She is precious.
Isn't she?
Also want to recognize Bill Kilcherman. Bill, original driver down there for the McClintocks, right? So Bill is here also. How about a big round of applause for him? Our next inductee of race cars on and off from 1961 to 2013. That's over 50 years at Mid-Vid Speedway. Some say that if he was able to still work on cars, he would still have one today. Harold had drivers like Bill Bean, Jerry Murphy, Delmer Clark, Jack Ripley, Larry McMillan, Travis DeVore, and Doug McMillan. Harold's passion was racing, and now we can welcome him in the Mid-Vid Speedway's Hall of Fame, ladies and gentlemen, one of Mid-Vid Speedway's longest tenured owners, Harold McMillan.
Look up here. There you go. Gotcha. Gotcha.
Our next inductee maybe was known best for his constant smile. Larry raced on and off from 1967 to 1987. He took over approximately 25 feature wins in the 1983 Figure 8 Championship, when that division was one of the top divisions in Mid-Vid Speedway. He also captured the season championship race that year. After hanging up his helmet, he continued to help wrench and build cars with his son, Doug, from 1993 until the present day. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the Figure 8 greats, Hall of Famer Larry McMillan.
Congratulations, young man.
I gotta thank Jason for being my water boy. Thanks, buddy. And Mom said thank you for the water. Our next inductee, one championship in 5 different decades. Stretching from the 70s until the ends, Mike started racing in 1975, winning his first ever race, and he went on to win the championship as a rookie. He competed for 37 seasons, winning 15 championships, 7 at Mid-Vid, 7 at Barberton, and 1 at Canton. He amassed approximately 225 feature wins. Mike held track records at Mid-Vid, Barberton, Canton, and Cloverleaf. Mike has competed at 16 different tracks in 4 different states. He's married with 2 children, and now he's a Hall of Famer, ladies and gentlemen. 15-time champion, Mike Miller.
Well deserved, brother.
Our next inductee started working at Mid-Vid Speedway when the track opened in 1953, selling Speedway newspapers. He watched his father Don race, and his mom even won a power buff race. He was a staple in the turn 3 pit chute, working as a pit steward during the Pilates, the Randy Smith and Fair Sports eras of the Speedway. He has watched a lot of careers come and go, and has even spent time with Bobby Allison and was Janet Guthrie's personal escort when they were in town to race at Mid-Vid. He worked the third term from 1969 until his retirement in 2014. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the longest tenured officials at Mid-Vid Speedway, Mr. Dean Mao. Yeah. Our next inductee started out racing in 1969 in the hobby stock division. He then moved up into the late model division in 1973. He continued racing late models and even tried his hand at modified before retiring in the year 2000. Joe won many features and a few championships sprinkled in. He even tied Baldy Baker's record for 6 consecutive feature wins in 1980, but never counted as wins. It was all about the family and lifelong friendships he made along the way. Ladies and gentlemen, Hall of Famer number 55, Joe Nye.
Okay, who we got?
Our next inductee started racing on the figure 8 track at Mid-Vid in 1979 before building a stock car in his front yard for the Oval in 1980. Yeah, if I get choked up, you have to forgive me on this one. He won 3 Street Star Championships in the 1980s, but was best known for his sportsmanship and willingness to help his competitors. Racing was fun, but spending time with his family and friends was his passion. Gene raced until his passing in 1989, winning the championship in his final season. His number 7 is retired in the Street Stock Division in 1990. Ladies and gentlemen, Hall of Famer of the league, Gene Pringle. Told my wife not to cry, and I'm the one that ends up a blubber and mess, so it is what it is. Our next inductee started going to Midvale Speedway in 1974 and started helping out in 1975. He became an official when he started scoring in 1976 during the Pilati administration and remained until the Pilati family sold the Speedway in 1999. When Chris Pilati started the Mid-Vid Racing Series, he tapped Ron to be a scorer, where Ron remained until his passing. He also owned and raced his own stock cars at Camp Motor Speedway from 1978 until 1989. Ron also worked as a scorer in Robertson Speedway. Ron and his wife have 2 sons, Doug and Brian, and 6 grandchildren. Even on his deathbed, Ron was a racer, saying how the Mid-Vid Series was only a month away and he had to get better. Ron is missed by many, but is above with all the other greats looking down on him. Ladies and gentlemen, Hall of Famer, Ron Prosperi. Our next inductee attended his first race at Strasburg Speedway in 1958 and was instantly hooked.
Great job.
He started his racing career partnering with Dave Harris in 1978 until 1982. After that, he helped flag his Camp Motor Speedway. He filled in flagging when he could at Midvale for Eddie Warmack. He would eventually work his way into the announcer's booth, where his voice became synonymous with racing at Midvale Speedway. He also flagged and announced at many main event races during his tenure while helping out at Barberton, Mansfield, and Wayne County. He spent 25 years doing any job associated with the sport he loved, even getting to call his son's first feature win. The best part was the many lifelong friendships that he made along the way. Ladies and gentlemen, one of Midvale Speedway's famous voices, Dan Chunky Radonovich.
Hey, get him to turn around.
Our next inductee was one of the winningest and most popular figure 8 drivers in the history of Midvale Speedway. In 1976, JR captured 6 feature wins, including the Cleveland Championship, taking many more checkered flags in the late 70s and early 80s, including the prestigious Baldy Baker Memorial in 1981. JR took home the 1985 Figure 8 Championship. He continued to race after the Figure 8 division went away in the late 80s, including in the street stocks and pure stocks. JR dominated the 1989 Detroit Iron Division, capturing 7 feature wins in the championship and holding the track record along the way. He competed in the 1990 Enduro 150 and raced some on dirt before becoming a Midvale Speedway and Main Event Series Tech official. Sadly, JR passed away in 2006. Here tonight is JR's wife Diane and son Adam. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the greatest figure 8 drivers to race in Midvale Speedway, the late J.R. Ridgway. Our next inductee's racing career didn't begin in the track. It started with a high-speed chase. As a teenager, Jack would drag race on State Route 36, and the last time the cops tailed him, although the cops didn't catch him, the 18 witnesses in Jamaica got to use that car, ending his illegal racing days. He met his late wife Brenda at Dice Hill in Dover and were married a year later. Smiling Jack's 40-year legal racing career began by pulling his very first stock car to and from the track by a chain with a 65 Mustang and his wife Brenda's help, of course. He would drive for 15 different car owners, even being approached by Charlie Thomas to drive in NASCAR, but turned it down because family was more important. Jack has traveled to 4 different states, racing on 22 tracks, 11 on asphalt and 11 dirt, racking up many feature victories and track records along the way. His favorite racing memory was winning a feature on 3 tires and 11 straight feature wins at Gravett Speedway in an ugly 1963 Ford Fairlane. Smiling Jack has 3 children, 1 son-in-law, 7 grandchildren, and 9 great-grandchildren. His son Todd and grandson Lucas carry on the racing family tradition. Ladies and gentlemen, Hall of Famer, Smiling Jack Ripley.
That's what you call a big fan club. Okay.
Also want to recognize Dale Royer. He was the first owner of Hall of Famer J.R. Ridgway's cars. Dale, how about a big round of applause for him? Our next inductee was probably best known for being the father, car owner, and crew chief for many-time champion and feature winner Rich Rohr. The two teamed up in 1974 and continued to win races together through the 1994 season. Niles also built the engines and turned wrenches for the likes of Tony Diano, Norm Calhoun, Gary Madej, Bernie Warner, and Jack Miller. Upon closing his automotive shop in 1987, Niles built engines for Malkin Racing until his passing in 1994. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the winningest car owners in the history of Midvale Speedway, the late Niles Rohr. Also want to recognize 2 more Hall of Famers that couldn't make it tonight, but will be here in the future to receive their plaques for a ceremony later on. Mr. Bob Sibla. And also Tom the Farmer Smith. Our next inductee started his racing career in the mid-1960s when he drag raced with Doc Dixon and Bill Ashworth. In the mid-1970s, Kenny began racing at Midvale Speedway in a Chevy hobby stock. He raced consistently for 3 decades, driving for himself, John Pilati, and Ron J. Bird Sr. He won many races and was a season champion in the mid-1980s. When the Gentle Giant hung up his helmet in 2006, he continued to work in the sport. He worked for a NASCAR Busch Series team for 7 years, driving the owner's motor coach and hauling the car show across the United States. Sadly, Kenny passed away last December. Ladies and gentlemen, the Gentle Giant, now a Hall of Famer, the late Kenny Stevens. Our next inductee started in motorsports by pulling mini modified tractors before switching gears to auto racing in 1980. John's partnership with the late Kenny Stevens led to many victories in the number 58. He also owned a car for Joe Nye and Doc Dixon. Pilati Pipe adorned many race cars over the years, including the number 55 modified, as he partnered with Nine and the late Jake Miller, and the number 33 of John Wilson. Pilati Pipe was on the cars with John Klein, Todd Miller, Tom Garbrandt, and helped propel the number 75 of Ron Day to over 30 wins in the Detroit Iron and Sports Stock division. After retiring from racing partnerships in 2010, he enjoyed his family, his K9 pals, and his blue Harley trike before passing away sadly in July of 2011. Ladies and gentlemen, not only a car owner, but a dedicated sponsor to many drivers, the late John Talati.
Who's next?
And our final inductee in this third class to go into the Hall of Fame. He grew up at this place because his father and his uncle built Midvale Speedway. Chris started working at the track in 1960, planning and doing maintenance. When he came back from the Army, he worked as a pit steward in 1971. He moved to the tower and became the race director and promoter in 1974 until his family sold the Speedway in 1999. He founded the Main Event Racing Series in 1988. That is still known as the Main Event Outlaw Series today. He owned that until 2011. He is currently employed back as the current race director here at Midvale Speedway. Ladies and gentlemen, Midvale Speedway's first son, Hall of Famer, Chris Talati. Ladies and gentlemen, while we get your pictures of your Hall of Fame class down here, how about one more huge round of applause for our 2018 third ever class in the Midvale Speedway Hall of Fame.
Did I do all right?
Famers, as we will send them back to their seats. They can fellowship and hang out, bench race with each other. It's a privilege to have them here tonight. I hope all the Hall of Famers and old timers enjoy tonight, and I hope all you, the fans, do as well. This Midvale Speedway in Littletown, Ohio, has such rich history. Really means something to people through these 65 years. Congratulations to all of our Hall of Famers. We'll be back with our feature program here shortly. Terry Nutty's green flag. Curtis Collins, Bob Passwater, John Harder, transportation. caution on this. They've done a nice job on restart so far. Bob Scott, Aaron way up the racetrack. Tony Love, call back feature. Getting ready to go. 3. Hudson Miller.